I just created 2 stunning indoor trees that are faux, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sarah Wisted. Today's video is a DIY. You guys know I love a DIY. I apologize, I have a bit of a cold, so my voice sounds a little bit deeper. I was struggling to find a beautifully designed faux indoor tree that didn't cost $1 million, so I decided to make one myself. I wanted it to be tall, at least 7 feet tall. I have really tall ceilings in my house, and a lot of the corners I feel like need some height. You know anything about me, I don't love a lot of stuff on the wall, but I need to create some sort of dimension in that space without hanging something. So a tree I felt was like a really good option for that, but I didn't want this tree to look so commercial. I wanted it to feel a little bit more unique. I also didn't want it to look very obviously fake. I actually have 2 different trees that I'll show you the different techniques that I used for each of them, but it was honestly pretty simple. Luckily, I did have 2 faux olive trees from Target already. If I'm being completely honest, I am not a huge lover of a faux olive tree. Obviously, they serve their purpose, and I've had them in my home for quite a long time, but it was just because I was lazy and I couldn't figure out what else to put there. I have tried my hand at live trees, and they just can't keep them alive. I also feel like the really tall ones are super expensive for the potential of it dying, so that was just kind of on me. I just didn't feel like this was the right phase of life to bring in a real tree. So this was my goal, was to create a faux tree out of my Target tree that felt like it was a piece of art, and it felt very unique, and it felt like something you could find in nature, or maybe even better than nature, but it doesn't die. So that was kind of like on my mind. So at one point I was just like, I'm done with these olive trees. Let's just do something with it. If it works out, great. If not, whatever. Let me first show you the 2 trees that I did. The first tree I'll show you is an easier update, and then the second one is kind of I finagled this one a little bit more, so it's a little bit less seamless, I guess, but you can still use this technique if you're interested in a specific leaf that doesn't have the hole to like pop on the leaf. Okay, so let me show you this first tree. This first tree is the Target Studio McGee Collection 7-foot tree. One of the things that I noticed that I was drawn to just based on Pinterest, I am a huge Pinterester. When I'm trying to update something, I pin a ton of inspo photos, and then I start to see what all those photos kind of have in common. And what I had found is that I actually really lean towards trees that are more bare and have a very organic shape. So these Target trees are not bare, and they don't have an organic shape. So I had to form that from the tree. Step 1, pull all the leaves off. This one actually kind of took a while. It's kind of annoying, but my daughter was trying to help me, which was so nice. So I pulled all the leaves off of this tree. You have to find which leaves you're going to replace these leaves with. I did so much research on this part because if you know, really good looking faux leaves or faux branches can be very expensive. I didn't want to spend a ton of money on something that I was just testing out for the first time. So I searched everywhere for some leaf that I thought would look real enough, but also wasn't $1 million. And it led me to Etsy, of course. Etsy has everything. And I found these japonica stems off of Etsy, and I thought these leaves would be perfect. And little did I know, when I ordered them, the leaves that were on the japonica stems also popped off easily, just exactly like the Target leaves did. So it was an easy pop off. They had a hole that I could fill with glue and then pop them back on. So backing up before putting the leaves on, the shape I wanted to make first before I started adding leaves to the different branches. This is kind of like a creative process on how you want to shape your tree, but in my mind, and this goes with all the floral arrangements that I do as well, I like to have one side a little bit taller and a little bit fuller, not necessarily fuller, but just like a little bit more asymmetrical, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want it to be like the same all around. I want one side to be slightly taller and then one slightly shorter. And what I had noticed on my Pinterest hunt is that I liked trees that had a really big split in the middle, where one side kind of like really grows that way as if it were growing towards the sun, and the other slightly grows the other way. I don't know if that makes sense. These plastic trees, you guys, are actually meant to be formed into the shape that you want them to be. A lot of the times when you get them out of the box, you kind of just like spread the branches and set it out, and that's the tree, and that's why all of them kind of look the same. But if you want your tree to look different, even if you don't change out the leaves, you can just manipulate the branches and make it look very different than the tree that you have in the box or that you see online. So I think that's like the main thing that makes these these new trees look so much better is just changing the shape of them. I did also remove quite a few branches. Like I said, I like a more sparse tree. I wanted to switch it up and make it less perfect, so I did remove quite a few branches. Okay, so I had the shape, and now I needed to add the leaves back. So with this first tree, the ones where I'm putting these new green japonica sprays on, what I decided to do was use a glue gun because that was the easiest and most cost effective, and it really was so easy, you guys. A glue gun is like one of the easiest crafts that you can do out there. Placing the leaves also is kind of a creative process and what you think looks the best. I personally was looking at the stem of a japonica plant because I wanted to see how in nature what that would look like without me manipulating it. I had noticed that some of the bigger sprays were on the tips at the very ends of each of them, and then there were some individual leaves that kind of went down the stem, and then once everything's glued on, you're pretty much done unless you want to manipulate the tree a little bit more. I mentioned earlier in this video that I like my trees to be really tall just because we have tall ceilings in this house, and so what I did to make it even taller or more impactful is get a really big oversized vase. This one is from a place that was going out of business in Atlanta. So I don't know how to tell you where to get one like this, but you really can just go to your local pottery store and see what has, like outdoor pottery store, and see if you find one that's really big and oversized. Now is probably a good time to do that because I think in the fall they probably have sales on pottery. But essentially buy a really big pottery piece that you can then put a platform on the inside, and then you put your faux tree base in that, and it just raises it up a few inches. Versus if you were to buy the tree already taller than this, it would be even more expensive. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you can buy any color planter and paint it. So if they have a really big, beautiful shaped looking one that's blue, and blue is not your vibe, then you can literally paint it. This one that I have in here that's now white was blue, and I painted it white, so it matches my walls. Okay, regarding this second tree that I did, this is the same Target tree, but a smaller size. And because I had the confidence of already redoing this first tree, I was like, there's nothing to lose, let's try the second one. And I had all of these branches left over from fall last year. They're actually from A Floral, which you guys know is not inexpensive. So I was very hesitant to use these for another project that I didn't know that maybe they would work out, maybe they wouldn't, but I figured life is short, let's figure it out. So for this one, it's a little different because you can't just pop these leaves off and there's a hole that you can super glue on. This one, you almost had to keep it as a branch and use floral tape to tape it onto the branch of the tree. But backing up, it's the same process before you start adding leaves. Removing all the first leaves, shaping the tree, removing branches, getting the shape that you want, and then we add on the leaves. These branches are a little bit more floppy, if you see, versus the olive tree was pretty rigid and straight. So I wanted to keep some of that soft feeling in the branch. So when I cut these, I cut them more closer to the actual branch and left a few leaves bunched together so I could floral tape the end of it and have it still kind of like flow naturally as the branch was intended to. Now this one I did try a few different ways because it wasn't so easy, and it still isn't as seamless as the first one is. But if you have leaves that are similar to this and you really love the leaf and you think the leaf looks so real and so beautiful like these ones that I have here, you can still make it work. It's just not going to be as seamless. It might take you a little bit longer, and yeah, but the outcome is usually worth it. So yeah, just buy some floral tape that's as close to the branch of the tree as you can find, and then when you cut your branches up and you have multiple leaves that you're ready to hang up on your tree, then you just use the floral tape to tape it down the branch. Now, as you see here, the floral tape doesn't actually match exactly to the branch of the tree. So if you want to take it a step further, you can find paint that matches the tree and try and kind of blend them in together. And I did plan to do that, but I haven't yet because that's very detailed. Kind of up to you if you want to make the effort to make it blend together, because that you can do that. It's just going to take some like hand painting and just like finagling it to blend the seams together. But in general, both of them were very easy to do. They don't really require too much other than being creative and some of your time. I will link all the products that I use down below, including the 2 trees that I have. So if you want to recreate this for yourself, you can do that. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up button and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. And I'm sure I'll talk to you guys on my next video.